As the final minutes ticked away, he made his most stunning announcement. He accused Netanyahu of war crimes, of turning the lives of millions into a gamble, of orchestrating violence that had claimed Palestinian lives. There were gasps, murmurs, and then a hush fell over the chamber as Traoré dropped his final bombshell. He accused Netanyahu of ethnic cleansing, of driving Palestinians from their homes to make way for Jewish settlers. The room was electric with tension. The very foundations of diplomacy seemed to be shifting. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the steady beat of cameras recording this historic moment. At last, someone was speaking up. Someone was calling out the powerful. As Traoré took his seat, the applause was hesitant, then it erupted, shaking the chamber, growing louder with each passing second. It was a sound that transcended borders, cultures, and languages, the sound of truth being spoken, the sound of solidarity. Cameras flashed as he acknowledged the cheers, his face a mixture of resolve and quiet triumph. But the noise did not come from the delegates alone. It was amplified by millions more outside the UN, those who had long suffered in silence. On streets around the world, people cheered, honked, and waved in support. On social media, the hashtag Ibrahim Traore trended worldwide, amplifying the message from the heart of the UN. However, in the aftermath of Traoré's speech, the UN erupted in chaos. The very balance of power seemed to be challenged. As the rest of the world reacted, Traoré remained composed. He knew he had planted a seed of truth, one that would grow into a demand for justice. The next few days were a whirlwind. The international community was split. Supporters rallied, detractors attacked, and the media dissected his every word. But throughout it all, Traoré stood firm. He gave interviews, engaged in diplomatic discussions, and laid the groundwork for future action. His every move was calculated, every statement a strategic step. But the response was not limited to diplomatic missions. On the ground in Palestine, the impact was immediate. Traoré's words gave voice to a narrative often drowned out, humanized the victims of a conflict that had become all too abstract. Aid organizations reported increased donations, likely spurred by the renewed global attention on the crisis. Volunteers hit the streets, rallies were organized, and a new urgency filled the air. Even within the UN, change was afoot. Many nations, inspired by Burkina Faso's lead, began speaking out against Israeli policies. The tides were turning. In the weeks following his speech, Traoré's life became a whirlwind. He received threats, offers, and condolences. Delegations from various countries sought him out, some to express solidarity, others to offer assistance. His phone was constantly buzzing, but he managed it all with grace and composure. Each call, each meeting, was a testament to the ripple effect he had created. The international stage was no longer enough. People around the world wanted to know how they could help, how they could contribute to the cause. And Ibrahim Traoré, the young leader from a small African nation, had shown them the way. The 1960s was a tumultuous time. Civil rights marches shook America. The Vietnam War divided nations. And in the heart of Africa, a new fire was ignited. A small nation, little known on the world stage, was about to make a stand that would echo through history. Its leader, a man who had tasted both privilege and persecution, was about to deliver a speech that defied empires. Traoré walked onto the podium, a picture of quiet confidence. His tailored suit and crisp demeanor marked him out from the sea of delegates in the UN General Assembly Hall. At that moment, no one, not the Americans, not the British, not the French, could have predicted the storm that was about to break. The weight of expectation was heavy, yet Traoré felt a calm determination settle over him. His audience, a mix of world leaders, diplomats, and journalists, sat expectant. They had come to hear what this young, unassuming nation had to say. Little did they know they were about to witness history. When Traoré spoke, his voice resonated with an authority that belied his years. His words were carefully chosen, his delivery impeccable, leaving no room for misinterpretation. In front of this assembly, He laid bare the soul of a nation, exposing the deep-seated inequities that had festered for too long. He painted a vivid picture of everyday life for ordinary people, showcasing the indignities and injustices they faced daily. Then came the accusations. With each carefully articulated sentence, Traoré wove a narrative that implicated some of the most powerful nations in the world. He spoke not of abstract theories, but of real people whose lives were shattered by war, by displacement, by hunger. And as he delved deeper, the hall grew colder. There was a palpable shift in the atmosphere, a tightening of faces, a rustle of papers as if to brush away what he was saying. But Traoré refused to be silenced. He was not there to make friends or to butter up allies. He was there to expose the hypocrisy, the double standards that had become the norm. His words cut through the diplomatic niceties, piercing the veil of respectability that some nations had carefully crafted. One by one, he dismantled their justifications, leaving them exposed and diminished. And then he turned to Israel, his voice unwavering. Here was the crux of his message, the part that had the world on edge. He accused Israel of apartheid, of racial segregation, of denying basic rights to Palestinians. These were not mere allegations. They were statements of fact backed by years of experience, of struggle, of resistance. The hall erupted. Some delegates gasped. Others leaned forward, eager to hear more. Still, others looked uncomfortable, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. But Traoré continued, undeterred, his eyes blazing with conviction. He spoke of human rights violations, of international law, of the urgent need for justice. As he gained momentum, the room grew silent. It wasn't the silence of agreement, but the silence of those captivated by the raw courage of a leader unafraid to speak truth to power. And then he finished. The last words hung in the air like a challenge. He had laid it all out, leaving no doubt, leaving no room for denial. As the applause started, hesitant at first, then growing louder, Traoré knew he had done his part. He had planted the seeds of truth. Now it was up to the world to listen, to acknowledge, and to act. Outside the chamber, reactions were swift and intense. Supporters lauded Traoré for his bravery, his eloquence, his commitment to justice. Critics attacked him, labeling him everything from reckless to dangerous. But in the heart of the young African nation, there was only pride. Their leader had not just held his ground, he had redefined it. Back in his homeland, Traoré was greeted as a hero. The speech that had shaken the UN became the anthem of a generation. And as the years went by, its impact only grew. More nations began speaking out, more people began listening, and somewhere in the halls of power, a few things started to change.